We had a really heart to heart today about the behavior of men at tech conferences.
Yeah.
I think it was, I think it's something that men need to pay more attention to.
Yeah, it's a tricky topic, and tricky for us to talk about being two white men, right? So, two white males. So we've probably gotten a lot wrong,
Yeah.
and we'd love it if you could watch and let us know how we're doing this. And also, thank you to all our subscribers. We're close to 500, so we're looking forward to having that big party. But anybody who wants to kind of let us know if we're doing anything wrong in our other videos, let us know. Please do. It's important to us. But thanks to Mike for bringing up this topic, and we'll chat about it in a second. Enjoy the episode.
I brought this up because it came up where I work. So I brought up the issue here. We had a discussion about sexual harassment at events. So we're a tech company. We send people to staff booths at tech conferences. And one of the things, the conversation was just around sexual harassment at these live events, of employees at live events. And so I had a couple thoughts about it that I've been trying to work out and wanted to talk it through here with you, Peter. Unfortunately, we don't have John today. That would have been an interesting perspective as well. But I guess a couple things. So one is that there are differences. There are physical differences between the sexes. There are cultural differences between the genders. And one assumption that I'm making is that sexual harassment is predominantly something that is done by men to women. Is that, I mean, I'm just kind of asserting that. That could be an invalid assumption. Like, men can be harassed. Men can be harassed by men.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one assumption. And then I guess what comes from that, to my mind, is not that women need to be saved by a man, but that the man who is doing the harassing will respond differently to being told to knock it off by another man than he would by a woman. So is there a special responsibility of men to combat this?
I mean, I think yes. Personally, one of the things that I think helps it perpetuate is the fact that people don't do anything, that they see it happening or recognize it and then don't step in to try and solve it. It's a fine line between, it's a difficult thing to do, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And I think it's better to try and fail than not try at all.
Yeah,
although you can come across as overbearing or interfering, or it might be that you've misunderstood the situation,
Yeah, there's lots of complicating factors. It could be, you could be misinterpreting the situation. Maybe it's something that maybe, just because a guy's spending a long time talking to a woman at a booth doesn't mean it's inappropriate or that she feels threatened or offended by it. And not every situation needs to be dealt with like aggressively. Maybe instead of being told to stop doing something, there needs to be a de-escalatory response. And here again, not that there's inherently anything about women that makes them better at de-escalating, but culturally, women are kind of conditioned and trained to de-escalate more than men. So maybe you could argue that a woman is best equipped to de-escalate a situation like this and make it to stop. I don't know. I don't feel like that's true.
I don't think it really matters if you're better or worse equipped to deal with the situation. It still doesn't absolve you of any responsibility to try and help other people if you think that they might be being bothered.
It reminded me of we had a discussion about women in tech a couple months ago, and the idea that if men are predominantly in the decision making roles right now, that they're the ones who have to be involved in making the change. And it kind of reminded me of that
Oh, yeah.
conversation.
Sorry, what did you say?
Uh,
Do you,
that we had talked about women in tech not being paid as much, not being
oh,
promoted to leadership positions, and that to help
yeah.
rectify that, men would have to be involved because they're the ones in positions of power now.
Yeah, yeah. So there was another thing that I read recently, which was there's this in the IETF. There was a study, some research done on the IETF. The IETF is the Internet Engineering Task Force, and they come up with a lot of the standards on how the internet actually runs. So these things called RFCs, which are technical documents generally that talk about how computers interact and send email and do web pages, cryptography, and all sorts. And the IETF is made up of the idea is that anybody with a keyboard or an email address can get involved. But they also have a thing about loud men talking loudly. And that's kind of how you get involved, is you kind of step in and voice your opinion. And if it's stated, loudly enough and people agree with you, then it gets made into a standard. And if you know what you're talking about, and there will be people who will loudly disagree with you if they think that you're wrong. And it's quite a sort of boisterous, it's not an introvert's, well, depending on what kind of introvert you are. Like if you're not somebody if you're afraid to express your opinion, you should, it's not the right environment for you, which is, puts people off. But it's also very male focused, and has a lot of like male energy. And there was a great sort of study done on this, there's some research done on it, where they were pointed out that this is not conducive to getting for females to get involved in. And for women to females, is that the wrong word? I don't know. For women to get involved in. Sorry, I'm shit at this as well. I find the whole topic difficult because I'm so clumsy in general, and when it comes to more sensitive areas like this, I find it difficult to navigate what's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and it's go ahead.
Yeah, so great. Go ahead. Go on.
Like it's new. It's new. These are new concepts in society and culture, and so for us oldsters, we're trying to keep up here.
Yes, and I mean it is new. It's new to think about things differently, but really they're old concepts of just don't be a dick, don't like think about other people, and trying to remember how those principles that we agree with are applied in different situations and how other people feel about it, in particular women and non-binary and everyone really. Just it's tricky. Because we were used to thinking in certain ways, and when those are challenged, it's difficult. Even if you agree with the challenge, it's hard to switch out of modes of ways of thinking that we've been doing.
And there
so
is.
How was?
Sorry,
go on.
I was going to say there is some shift because at TechCon, because of the disproportionate participation of men over women in tech generally, there are going to be more male attendees at these conferences. At other conferences, video game conferences, cosplay stuff, like sporting events, they would have, in the past, I'm sure they probably still do, these booth babes, right, who are there essentially to be objectified and draw men to the event. So it's kind of a problem that, I mean, as are all problems in society, a problem that we created for ourselves, right?
Yeah. I think also there's so many. So a lot of these things, when you think about them and someone explains them to you, they make sense. So they're easy to resolve. But there's situations where people disagree on how they're meant to be dealt with. Objectification of women, right? You were talking about the booth babes. I don't think they're around very much. Not a lot of the conferences I've been to, I've seen them at all in the last few years, at least. But like in cosplay events, there's a lot of, and gaming, there's a lot of, gaming characters that have the kind of like boob armor, which is just, it's pointless well, I say in real life, but I don't think you'd be able to shoot magic out your hands in real life. But you know what I'm saying is, it's practically it's used. Yeah,
at participating in armed combat with swords and bows and arrows.
But like so people dress up as these characters, and they look they make themselves deliberately look like those characters. And I think the characters weren't designed with they were designed with a male view, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. Some people have said to me, some female friends of mine, some women friends, God, is it getting mixed up? I'm really fucking that up right now. Have said, "Oh, that's outrageous," and other people have said, "No, it's great." And I don't know. I don't really have an opinion personally, but it's tricky. I don't know. Just don't be a dick. Yeah. Try and be nice to people. Try and consider how they're feeling. And there was a good thing I saw the other day, which was about treat everybody you speak to as if they're The Rock, even if it's a male, female, or other. However The Rock would respond to you. Like, you wouldn't go to The Rock and say, "Oh, hey, nice, I don't know, hair. You should smile more." Wait, you look really good, but you should smile more. Mm-hmm. Like, you wouldn't say that to The Rock.
Probably not. Part of the reason I wanted to bring it up on this show, and if you disagree with any of my assumptions, or share your opinion in the comments. But part of the reason I wanted to bring it up,
wrong.
What?
Tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah, just not whether we are or not, just how we are.
How we're wrong. Yes.
But our audience is largely male, the kind of people who would go to tech conferences. And so I guess my message to you guys is just we need to police ourselves. Regardless of, how I've been right or wrong about anything I've said so far. Yes, it's everybody's responsibility. Yes, we should just everybody treat each other well. Be aware of this for yourself and don't do it. And be aware of this for other guys at these tech conferences and encourage them not to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just pointing it out. I think most people, I would hope, don't do it maliciously or on purpose.
I get why it's tough, though. I honestly do. To go up to someone and say your behavior is not right in any way, if you couch it in the nicest possible terms, to say, I disagree with what you just did or what you're doing.
So what's a good way to respond? Just like a redirection, or what's the...
I think, you can step in. If you see someone being overtly making someone else uncomfortable, then step in and try and draw their attention away. At least this kind of sort of least thing you can do. You can make a level higher and to say, stop doing that. You can speak to someone after the fact. I think it's beyond the scope of the recommendations I'm willing to.
So maybe something that would be relatively easy to do is just to build awareness about it amongst your friend group or social group at these events. And, they know other people and they know other people, and maybe just start having some of the conversations about, like, are we aware of how we treat women at these events? Are we aware of how we treat female vendors at these events? And instead of telling somebody not to do it, just like amongst your friends, be aware of it, talk about it, highlight it, encourage them not to do it. And then they can do the same for their friends, and it'll just be a growing movement.
Yeah.
But again,
great advice.
Tell us how we're wrong.
Thanks for bringing it up, Mike.
I will bring up lots of topics. I love talking. I don't know if anybody watching the show knows this, but we will talk. All right. Thanks, everyone.